You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Happy Daylight Savings Week, everyone.
St. Patrick's Day, David Hall.
Hey.
And Green, Greg Hectus.
Happy St. Patty's Day, guys.
Kyle Pendergraft.
How's it going, everybody?
All right, welcome back. Tony Groves.
What up, gentlemen? I sure found my lucky charms this week.
And Evan Pasoko.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back.
On the show today, we'll review an exciting Coke Series race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway with the voice of eNASCAR, Evan Pasoko. We'll show you how to get racing tips from Coke Series drivers and previous champion Nick Ottinger, and look at ways for iRacing to make improvements.
And remember, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all of the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So let's see you there.
Want to swap to hydraulic pedals, but you're worried about leaks? We want to take a moment to tell you about SimCoach's P1 Pro pedals. Their proprietary no-leak technology ensures all fluids stay inside where they belong. They completely redesigned the hydraulic cylinders found on typical pedals and made them spec for sim racing. Designed, machined, and assembled right here in the USA, you can have confidence what you'll get is quality. Backed by a lifetime warranty, there's no reason not to give them a look. Head over to simcoaches.com and use the code iRacersLounge at checkout to save 10% off the total order. Go do it now. Coke Series Atlanta. Boy, what an exciting race. But before the race, Evan, we saw some pretty fancy hardware delivered over to Denny Hamlin's team.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure that they were going to give him official hardware, but the 2311 guys got their trophy for being the team champions in 2021. So it's a nice looking piece of hardware and certainly some motivation. And I think that team championship, since it's got some hardware to it, gives us something, a little bit extra to talk about on the shows this year. But yeah, good inspiration. They got a good group of guys back, and who says that 2311 can't do it again this year?
All right. That was pretty neat. Big O trophy, too. 39 drivers tonight. It was announced no Kyle Peddle in the field. The pre-race interviews, we had real-life drivers, Retzlaff and Honeycutt, and they kind of focused on those guys. Obviously, Coke drivers, but Retzlaff kind of surprised everybody showing up at an Xfinity race at Phoenix, and that was a really neat surprise. And then Honeycutt is running late models as well.
Yeah, and funny enough, they're both rookies in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, and they both drive for the same team in Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. But yeah, Parker made his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut last weekend at Phoenix Raceway, and Caden's been working up some of the late model ranks as well. I mean, we've seen Parker do the same thing as well in years past, but kind of funny that the least experienced drivers in the field, right? 2 of our 7 or whatever rookies are doing some pretty serious real life racing. And yeah, that was kind of an oddity 6-7 years ago in this series, right? You had a couple guys who did some legend stuff, a couple guys who did some short track stuff. Obviously, we know Ryan Luza does a lot of the late model stuff as well. But I think it's going to be more and more common as, this series matures. And, 5 years from now, I think more than half the field is probably going to have some level of real life experience. And super cool to see Parker get that opportunity to drive an Xfinity car.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick Ottinger, 3 for 3 on poles this season. He started up front with Matt Busa, but it was early trouble at lap 4. when the Roush Fenway teammates get the worst of it. It was caution with Caden Honeycutt, Bardo, and others. They were around in turn 4. And
Blake pointed this out. How many times this year have we seen teammates, right, get together? And I mean, it's so early in the race too. Obviously we're on the old configuration of Atlanta. So it's not that indifferent than a Vegas. Obviously it's a much wider racetrack. It's a much more worn out surface. But short races, guys are pushing. I mean, it's still a learning curve. Even for drivers in the Coke Series. And, especially when you look at the team aspect, you can't be getting into your teammate at all. But, 4 laps into the race, certainly even that much more embarrassing.
All right, we got to restart lap 9. It was Ottinger, Zielinski up front. As they were going, we got an interview with one of the Coke owners, Kyle Long. Nice to hear from him, and he really wanted to talk about his new rig, his driving setup, and really his love for iRacing.
Yeah, and Kyle Long is, such a super cool guy. Not only is he involved, with the Mode Motorsports team in the Coke Series, but he just has fun on the sim as well. Over the last couple of weeks, our Jim Beaver Esports eShort course stuff's been airing on CBS Sports, and Kyle came out and raced in one of those. He is super involved. And, I know way back when, a couple of years ago, when he first officially was a part of the series, he was, always around. We did a bunch of those NASCAR shows kind of through the spring and summer of 2020. And he was on those every week talking about the Coke Series, right? He's not just a name signed on to a team. It's something that he's super passionate about, not only in the fact that he has teams and drivers involved in some of this stuff, but he just loves driving too. So, he's a super cool guy to have invested in sim racing for sure.
Yep, and as this run moved along, they got strung out. No rubber down. Lap 32, they were strung out a bit. Passing was at a premium, if not impossible at some point. Kevin King said, there's one groove, the bottom is junk. Someone else said the top side has more off-corner speed, but the bottom allows for tire saving. Ottinger was able to run low and save some, but Busa was running in the cleaner air in the top. But someone else said it's virtual gridlock right now.
And at this point, we had a little bit of a green flag run, right? So drivers utilizing that inside line actually had a legitimate opportunity to save a little bit on tires. But certainly it was a gamble to go low, right? It reminded me a lot of when you're racing at a plate track and everybody's single file in the real world up on the outside, right? You can go to the bottom. It's going to be the shorter way around the corner. You can certainly make up some ground on entry, but then either someone's got to go with you to help, or you need to clear somebody and then find a spot up in line. And there were some drivers who were able to make the bottom work certainly better than others. But for the most part, drivers really didn't want to risk it because you go down there and you don't find an opening, you lose 4 or 5 spots. Other drivers felt like it was a little bit better to just maintain position up top, especially when we're not even halfway into the race yet.
As we get down to green flag stops, it's Garrett Maines, lap 43, and others on pit road. Lap 49, Nick Ottinger pits from the lead. We hear a penalty for Colin Keister for speeding. At 42 to go, Nick Ottinger takes the net race lead. There's still some people out, but the people he pitted with, he comes out ahead of them. And then as we're waiting for Alan Bowes to pit, the battle for that lead, shifted up from Breyer LaPrade over to Ottinger and Zielinski, and then caution. It was Derek Justice. Oh my gosh, this was something else. He's on the apron like, oh, the leaders are coming. I'm junk. I'm getting out of the way. I'm going to get off the track and let these guys go by. So he goes to the apron, but he's not slow enough. And he comes up into the track and takes out some heavy hitters, including Luza, Conti, Bordeaux, and Bose, and more. I mean, it was crazy.
And Derek obviously knows what went wrong there, right? He doesn't need the lecture from me, but certainly, the age-old saying goes, the road to hell's paved with good intentions. He was trying to give them an incredible amount of room, right? Like he could have just held the bottom and made them deal with it, could have gone to the outside, and it probably would have put us in some kind of sketchy 2 or 3 wide situations. He really genuinely wanted to just get out of the way. It's just a tough deal, man. I mean, listen, I'm sure that's happened to all of us once or twice in a hosted race or a Carb Cup race at a time. Just unfortunate for Derek, the timing of that one, but not his proudest moment. Obviously no intent on his part, just one of those weird things that happens, and that kind of changed the entire tone of the race because, you know, we're through a green flag cycle of pit stops at that point. You got a couple drivers you talked about, LaPrade, then Ottinger, Zelensky to mix as well, kind of racing back up on each other in the battle for the net lead based on, you know, who pitted first to get that track position. I mean, it was really turning into an engaging strategy battle, and then it kind of threw everything back into the blender for a crazy second half.
Yeah, and Greg, you were the first one to say, man, cut this guy a break because and don't give him a hard time about it, because we've all been there.
What did I do? Sorry, I'm not paying attention.
When Derek Justice
oh, yeah.
and took out those guys.
Yeah, it is what it is, but, you know, stuff happens.
Can I ask a quick question? You guys are always really good on the race broadcasts about interviewing drivers after incidents. You know, they might be a little hacked off or something like that. You had Mike Conti on after that incident. Did you guys ask Justice to not be on, or did he request to not be interviewed after that? Because I would have thought he would have been interviewed.
Yeah, so that's our pit road team. That's, you know, in the radio channels. We got like 6-7 people that are just kind of in all the radio channels, just kind of listening in, feeding info to James for his pit reports, and then anytime there's an incident, we Drew, our producer and our director, kind of send somebody down to drag him. My guess would be that he just left the team speaker, didn't respond, because obviously if we could talk to him, we would want to. And again, I think he was just, my guess is, again, I wasn't on the pit road channel, but I assume we didn't have him because he probably just turned it off and went for a walk after that one.
Now, post-race, Justice did get on Twitter and say, my bad, I'm going to sit myself down for the next race before the admins don't even need to do it, is what he said.
And yeah, and, you know, to your point, I mean, he knows he screwed up, right? I mean, he's not the first one to do that. You know, in a high iRacing level. I mean, he's not even the first one to do that. You know, if you compare it to some of the top level of Cup, we've seen some people screw up on pit road and mess up the pack and mess up faster cars. So just a tough break. Not Derek's proudest moment, but not representative at all of, you know, him as a driver. And he'll pick up the pieces, and hopefully he doesn't let it bug him too much. And he can go out there and dig in a couple of weeks, and we'll see a good run out of him.
Absolutely. Ray Alfala leads. He stayed out. Bobby Zelensky is alongside on fresh tires. Bose catches a hell of a break and will be third. Nick Ottinger, who had dominated, would be fourth for that restart. And then 29 to go. Salas takes second from Ottinger. 28 to go. Contact in the back. Looked like Garrett Main just got sent into the grass.
Yeah, tough break for Garrett there. And again, you know, this race, not that like even on that long green flag run when we got to pit stops, I mean, even then people weren't really like super spread out. I mean, it was still pretty condensed, but you know, you get a restart, people are making moves, we're fighting for the lead, we're fighting in the pack, and people are just going to get caught out. I mean, I don't even think that's as much a product of the car as it is just a product of restarts inside of 30 to go. And unfortunately, Garrett gets caught out. We had a couple of other near incidents that, you know, almost as well brought to a caution flag. So there was a couple of those close calls. They all didn't bring out yellows, you know, Garrett going through the grass as well. But there was a lot of people back in the pack, you know, getting loose, bouncing off each other, getting into the fence, losing spots. I mean, it was pretty chaotic, which didn't really surprise any of us.
Yeah, you know, 30 down to 15 to go. We really see who the players are. It's Steven Wilson. He's cutting through traffic, and he's up to third place. 27 to go at that point. 20 to go. Nick Ottinger's back up to second. 14 to go. It was 3 wide for the lead. Graham Bolin, Steven Wilson, Bobby Zelensky. Bolin ends up with it. Some great racing going on.
Well, and this is, you know, we look back to early in the race when everybody up front, yeah, you had 2 or 3 guys fighting for the lead. But you got a little bit further back and everybody just kind of stayed high. I think this at the end kind of showed that those guys were really just biding their time, because it was a full-on 5-6 car battle for the race lead. I mean, everybody was having runs and taking looks and throwing blocks. I mean, it showed that when everybody was willing to push in a late race situation like that inside of 15 to go, you had options. Does that mean that the inside was great? No, but people could go down there, throw a slide job, park the bus. I mean, Steven did that several times, even leading up to this point in the race, and that's in part how he was able to get a lot of his track position, was being aggressive.
Yep, and then Ottinger sneaking back up into second around 7 to go, and at 5 to go, a caution as Matt Busa gets spun by Kerwin. He saves it though, a perfect 360, but we're going to overtime.
It was a nice little 6 save. Certainly could have been worse if we chunked a bunch of race cars. Busa's not happy about it because, I think that I had noted about like 2 laps before that, it might have even been Wilson, I forget who, but somebody pulled right up in front of Busa there, and Busa lifted, cut him a break, and then, like a lap later, Casey just doesn't cut Matt a break at all and just turns him. And listen, it's late in the race. You're not inclined to cut anybody a break, but it's not like Busa pulled up in front of him. I think Casey was just being a little bit too aggressive there and really wasn't thinking all that much and just kind of drove through his left rear. So fortunate that Busa doesn't get his night, completely ruined by it to that point, because he stays in this thing and becomes one of the drivers involved in the fight for the race win on the next restart.
Yeah, he obviously didn't have enough damage. He was still able to contend. So we set up an interesting scenario here. The top 6 stay out, the rest have tires, and then it's caution. And oh my gosh, who would it be? Donovan Strauss. I mean, this guy cannot catch a break. I think it's every week he gets wrecked.
And I bet if you ask him, he'll tell you exactly that. He'll probably tell you it's 2 or 3 times a week, right? I mean, it's just the way it goes sometimes. And, of course, at this point in the race, there's a big strategy playing out with the tires, right? You got the top 6 on old tires. You got 7th and 8th on 2 fresh tires. You got 9th on back on 4 fresh ones. And a caution, not necessarily bad for the guys who stayed out, because it takes a bunch of green flag laps out of this thing and pushes us to overtime.
Yeah, so overtime restart number 2, Graham Bolin and Steven Wilson leading the field. Nick Ottinger was coming real hard on the outside. He had a huge run. Wilson's in the middle, but he actually moves up to block Nick, and Nick touches the wall just a bit and loses his momentum. But then Nick gets touched by Busa as they fight for the middle, but recovers, gets shuffled and slid a little bit. Wilson's leading. He moves up to block Bolin, and then Bolin then pushes Wilson just a little bit and gets Bolin clear. Getting Bolin clear as Bolin and LaPrade, who came out of nowhere, collide with Busa, who was just kind of trying to go right up the middle there, and they all wreck behind him. And it's Steven Wilson for his first win.
And super cool to see Steven get the checkered flag. He's had so many good runs, but without that touch with Ottinger and Busa, Nick Ottinger's going to win that race. I mean, he has got so much speed in 1 and 2. It doesn't matter if they were already 2-3 wide in front of him. He had so much speed, he could have put that race car anywhere and cleared them before they even got to 3. But Busa pushes up that little bit. You mentioned it loosened up Nick Ottinger. He slides back, falls out of the fight. And ends up finishing, just behind those guys in 4th. And then it comes down to a 3-horse race, right? You talked about Wilson's clear. He has the lead into 3 and 4. Obviously, Busa's got a big run, but he can't go anywhere because Steven's doing a great job of just parking the bus on the bottom. So Busa's kind of forces his way up. He gets into on the outside line with the Graham Bolin. They wrecked for 2nd. They wrecked for like 8th and 17th, and a lot of cars wrecked across the start-finish line. But the second those cars behind him got together in 4, we had the onboard shot with Steven Wilson up in the bottom right corner. He's already fist-pumping as he comes off of 4. As soon as they got together, he knew that he's got it. His first career eNASCAR win and the 60th different winner in Coke Series history.
And well-deserved. I mean, he was knocking on the door last year. I remember we talked about him in several races where he was contending. And so I'm not surprised to see him win early in the season. Graham Bolin, he had a great race up front there. He ends up 12th. Femi Olat, he went actually flying across the line, 20 feet off the ground or something at the line, finishing 14th.
When a lot of people, you mentioned Steven Wilson's run last year, right? Evidently wasn't a run that went to the postseason, but still had 6 top 5s, still had 9 top 10s. Those are numbers that are better than a majority of the field that made it to the playoffs. So the issue for Steven Wilson isn't, having good runs. It's when he's not a top 5 car, when he's not a top 10 car, what can he do on an off night, right? This week doesn't answer that question because he had a top 5 car and he did something he couldn't do last year, and that was get the race win. But his 9 top 10s last year was tied for second most. His 6 top 5s was tied for second most in the series, and he didn't even make the playoffs. So now that he's got this win, that's a huge weight lifted off his back. Don't be surprised if Steven Wilson is there contending for a spot at Phoenix at the end of the year.
Yep, Dead Zone is looking pretty good right now. Great race, really good racing at the end. That last exchange in the last couple laps was pretty cool. Busa was right there, and everyone could just taste it. And then, like I said, LaPrade, he just came out of nowhere. I wasn't even aware that he was in the mix, and boy, he was right there.
Just goes to show that you just need to be close, right? Just be in the conversation at the end to have a shot.
All right, Evan Pasoko, thanks for coming on. Let's talk about the future. What do we got next time?
Well, it's going to be our first short track challenge for the next gen car, right? We've learned a lot at Daytona, Vegas, and Atlanta. It's going to be a while till we're back to a big track, right? We go to Richmond in 2 weeks' time. That's going to be on Tuesday, March the 29th. You can tune in at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for the Countdown to Green Prix show. Of course, Green Flag Racing starts a little after 9 Eastern. But we haven't seen a points race yet with these cars in a short track. So we're going to see how much of a difference they are compared to what we saw out of the Gen 6 last year. Some drivers even who had good finishes at Atlanta were kind of talking post-race like, hey, I really wanted to get something out of Atlanta because I don't know what I'm going to have on that short track package yet. So there's some questions on how this package is going to drive there. And then even just kind of a broader outlook. You got Richmond, the short track. Then we got the Bristol dirt race. Then we got Dover, another short track. So it's going to be a lot of short track racing. We're going to learn a lot over these next 3 weeks like we have over the course of the first 3 rounds of the season. And by the time we get to our next big track, Kansas in May, Charlotte, right, a lot of big race tracks from that point on. So if you're a short course specialist, if you're not a fan or maybe just haven't figured out these new cars at the big tracks, next 3 weeks are going to be big for you.
All right, Evan, thanks for coming on. I'm looking forward to that one, and we'll talk to you then.
Anytime, guys. We'll talk soon.
So, Mike, what's better than one new 87 car?
How about 2 for 1?
We have a 2-for-1 deal. Dale Jr. actually tweeted that he has updated the 87 Buick template, and it now includes the Oldsmobile from JS Racing 61, and it includes 2 headlight configurations. Now, this tweet is actually from Big Evil Design, so is that actually Junior?
No, I think it's just some painter who came up with it. Junior got mentioned and retweeted it,
The next time I do know the next time I run an 87, it'll be the Buick because that was the first car I owned. We talked about that before. Y'all mentioned it actually last week when I was away. But pretty neat little thing, yeah.
So what's neat about this tweet though is it has a link to Google Drive where you can find the template for creating the Oldsmobile, basically. So if you're a painter out there, and you want to run, this second car, you need the template. And so this is where you get it. So go find on Twitter, Big Evil Designs.
It's pretty sweet though, like just to have, it's a subtle thing, but at least, it gives another option.
Yeah, and I think like Will told us before, that's one of the reasons Dale Jr. picked this car was, he had said that was one of the reasons because it could be painted as 2 different ones.
Well, the next number we have is 7, and it's 7 ways to improve iRacing, Brian.
I came up with a list of 7
And
things
so,
that iRacing needs to either fix, repair.
this came from a YouTube video from Matt Malone, who's one of the streamer extraordinaires in iRacing, and he posted a video in 7 ways he would like to improve on iRacing. So I actually wrote down. I watched the video. I wrote down some of the things he says, and I'll read them out and see what you guys think about them real quick. So first of all, he thinks would be a great idea is a Nürburgring series. So it'd be like a 13-week season. The track every week is Nürburgring, just the cars change from week to week. So, 1 week it might be a GT car, next week it might be a Formula car. So who knows? So that was his first idea, which I think is pretty cool because that's such a unique track and so big. It's something that the cars are completely different from one to the next, and it's a way for people to get to learn that track more and maybe boost some participation in it.
Well, there's also different configurations of that track as well, is there not?
I think if you run the full ring, you run the full ring, and it's either that or the GP circuit.
Right, you can do the GP, or the whole deal.
Well, I thought it was like a 15-mile freaking track. They could probably carve out 12 or 15 different types of configurations. That'd be a hell of a season.
Yeah, but it runs through a mountain, so you kind of set basically on that. It runs through a bunch of mountains.
Well, there you go. Shows you how much I know.
It's pretty much a one track configuration, other than the GP track. Yeah.
Well,
I think that's a good idea, though.
Well,
I still think it's a good idea.
Any of those series, what do? They'll have a certain car running and change the track every day. So it's a nice reverse idea, and I wonder how easy that is to implement, because there's certain things that have to be locked in for a season that they don't seem to be able to change.
All right, so I'll move on to number 2. This is a kind of a quick hit. He just thinks that achievements and rewards need to be updated. It was a story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago with a guy who wasn't really happy with the iRacing awards and their achievements. They're difficult to find in the navigations, and a lot of people don't even know that they exist. So that's something he recommended.
iRacing has achievements and awards.
They need to, he was onto something, right? 9,000 IR in road. Come on, not many are going to achieve that. So maybe add a few other, and maybe make them a badge so you can put them on your car and kind of show them off.
Yeah, good idea. So that's something that he thought that iRacing can do. The next thing he suggested that to make the pace car selectable on replays and stuff. So if this happens to me all the time. If I'm rewatching the end of a race or something and I'm flipping through the drivers, it keeps popping me back to the pace car sitting in pit road or something like that. It is a little annoying. He thought maybe it's something that they could make something you could turn on or off the pace car as being a selectable replay view.
So you mean you're watching a race and you're hitting the C key, which changes the car that you're looking at, right? So as you hit the C 10 times or 20 times, however many times, going through all the drivers, after you've gone through all the drivers once, it'll stop on the pace car as one of the drivers. So he's saying, let's not stop it on the pace car. Let's skip the pace car.
Correct. And even if the cars are on the track and I'm watching a replay of something that might have happened, and I'm going from driver forward, going through the field one car by one car, it'll pop into the pace car, especially if you're near the start finish line. So yeah, that is kind of annoying, and I don't understand why that has to be there. So I think that's a pretty good suggestion too. So the next thing he went on to say is they should finish some of the tech tracks. He specifically mentioned New Jersey Speedway Park, which is unfinished as far as the surroundings and all that. And the point he makes is that they redid Long Beach, and they always said that was going to be just a tech track, and that they've done some fantasy stuff that is not real track. So why not just add the highlights to make a track like New Jersey a more polished track.
That was a good one because kind of like, yeah, what's the point of even having them if you can't really do anything with them except go out there and run around? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And I've actually been to that track in real life, New Jersey, and I've actually raced on it in a 24 hours lemons race, and it's a nice track and it's fun to drive on. I think if they just go ahead and bite the bullet and not worry about like all this extra work that goes into making it an official track, it'd be something a lot of people would really enjoy.
well, I want to say that when tech tracks were first announced, I thought the idea was this is a temporary thing to get it out to the public until we finish it. And I think what Matt Malone is saying is you're not finishing it.
Yeah, it's been a while since that because I practiced on this track in iRacing before I went and did that race, and it was still obviously it was a tech track then, and that was I don't know that's probably 8-9 years ago, something like that. So it's been a long time since that track has been sitting there unfinished. So the next thing mentioned was that if he's in a race session and say you finish your qualifying, you might be going through your setups, you're looking at your garage, you're making changes, you're not watching the countdown to go green because once you're in that garage, that countdown to green disappears. So he said he's actually had situations where he's been messing with setup changes, and then he goes to a grid and it was too late. He missed his grid and wound up having to start in the pits. So he thinks that there's a way, it should be a way to show that countdown screen while you're making these changes.
Yeah, when you hit pit or the setup screen, it comes up kind of in the middle and it erases the bars on the top and bottom that have information. He's saying just leave those bars there, so we can see, how much time is left before the next, thing. Brilliant, brilliant.
That's a good point. So next thing was he thinks that the championship points should be more accessible. So if you're running in a series like NIS or one of the 12-week seasons and you're running for points, he mentions that you can't do it really from the UI. You have to go to the website page. It's not really easy to find.
This is a Mike pet peeve we've had for forever.
So yes, and that was, and he uses the web page, not the UI. So that was one of the points he said. If you're going to make these championship series a thing, make the points more accessible and easier to find and easier to check through.
I think stats is probably the weakest thing on iRacing. It's so hard to. And I don't know if we have it on the script or not. I don't know if I put it on there, but Nick Neben did a video where he went over his stats, and it was almost comical to hear him try to struggle to find the numbers he was looking for.
Yeah, another good point by Matt. And finally, number 7, and this was kind of one that's more of a just a nitpicky kind of thing for graphics and stuff. So he thinks now Matt's a road racer, so when he does these races, all the cars grid up, in their pit lanes on the track, and he thinks that it looks a little unrealistic if you're doing like videos and stuff because all the cars are lined up so perfectly on that grid, you can tell it's a computer generated. He said there's no reason why you can't just make some randomization to it. One car is a little bit to the left of his pit stop, one's to the right. And that little bit of randomness will add a little bit better, realistic look to a set of cars gridding up on a track.
What happens if the code gets broken and a car sitting there on pit road upside down?
Well, I'd rather do it what like F1 does where they have the cars on the grid, they roll off and they do one installation lap and then grid up. That's what we should do.
Do you know how bad iRacers are even getting lined up?
How many incident points have you got lining up for
Could you imagine like how many cars are wrecked because imagine the first time it's implemented, nobody knows about it, and they all go off the grid to do the formation lap, and they launch like it's an actual start, and just like run people over.
Or you get
Well,
some
yes.
guy who parks it in where your spot is, and he won't move.
You know how long at a track like Le Mans it takes to make a pace lap?
Well, it wouldn't. I guess yeah, it would be interesting there.
There are some places where realism isn't worth it, and this is, I think, one of them. Especially driving a whole pace lap just to line back up. And
Nürburgring.
Imagine doing that. What if you got DQ'd before you got back to the line on the formation because of the incident points?
Did we cover the video? I actually, I think maybe it was either Matt Malone or Jimmy Broadbent did a video in like literally the first car ever made, right? The very first automobile that was like a two-stroke.
Oh yeah, it took forever to go around.
He did the Nürburgring in like an hour. There were some places where he actually had to turn it sideways because it didn't have enough power to go up the hill. He had to zigzag the hill.
Serpentine up the hill. So cool. Matt's a great YouTube streamer, and he's got some good ideas. And I'll throw it out to you guys. Do you guys have any thoughts about some changes iRacing could make? You know, from a road size, we come at a lot of us come from a oval side of it.
Well,
This
is the fact that guys that are getting damage fixed to come out like right in front of the pace car are getting put in front of cars that were already out on the field, penalty cars and stuff like that. Once you wait that long to come out, you should effectively be a penalty car.
I think this might be a good thing to add to our Discord as a discussion too, Mike.
Yeah, good idea. A poll.
That's a good point, David. And I think in general on ovals, the black flag can be adjusted some, because I got a black flag the other day. You know, just pulling into the pit road, and you know, I was behind the car that I was supposed to be, but it said that I passed it before I got to the start of pit entrance, and I got a passing under yellow, and you know, that shouldn't have happened. I mean, I wasn't gaining any positions by doing that. So I think black flags in general need to be addressed. I think there's really not a way for like the driver on a restart to select the top or bottom line. I think that's something that maybe could be implemented. We do that in our league series, but I don't think you can really do that in open races and official stuff.
I want to see the choose cone come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, every track with the super speedways like they do in real life.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Just like they do in real life.
Could you just imagine though that choose cone with some of the guys going around out there? I think it would just be as bad as Mike's formation lap.
Well, I think worse, because people are not going to know which one to pick. Because, you know, in real racing, you know, that you have spotters saying how many are high, how many are low, counting for you. If you don't have that, you might not know, and you just freeze, you know, at the cone and then start backing up the people behind you. Who knows? I'd like to see it too, but I'm not sure how easy it would be to implement without causing carnage.
The poor sim racing apps or crew chief software engineers are going to be getting the requests of floods where when it starts, the car goes by, it goes high, low, high, low, low, high.
Well, that'd be a very easy JRT app to do, right? Where you just see the numbers going up as you're coming through.
Yeah.
Well, what about this big announcement that we got coming up, Greg?
Well, we got the full announcement. This is just the tweet
Script. But if you check the Twitter and look at their most recent, Greg, you'll see the announcement.
Yeah. So the first thing that we're showing here on the actual our website is the CarQuest Auto Parts Twitter page. Went love iRacing. You're going to want to follow us for a big announcement before the end of the week, and then it's kind of showing the soon logo with it ripped on the screen. So then if you go to the actual other one, they've announced that they are going to they're welcoming They're going to be sponsoring the World of Outlaws Sprint Cup Series or Sprint Car Series on iRacing, which is really sweet and excellent to get these companies on board.
Yeah, absolutely. Their title sponsor. It's neat to have a new title sponsor in sim racing that hasn't been with us before. That's cool. Part of their tweet says that you can get their logos and colors and whatnot as well. And if you're wanting to do paints,
That car that they have there is pretty sweet design too.
Yeah, there's some pretty good looking paints.
as far as I know, there's no announcement of like purse or anything like that. Unknown. But well, at least they don't wait around like Thrustmaster. I mean, did Thrustmaster ever release a product for what they were talking about?
No, they released a bunch of
They're still doing that, aren't they?
actual product. I think one was coming up soon. We'll have to look into that.
Before they release it, it's going to be out of date.
Now, CarQuest did it right. I mean, they teased this for what, a couple weeks, and then boom, they have an announcement. Great. I mean, that's how it should be done.
Well, we were, we every time this kept coming up, we had a discussion in our messenger about what do we think it's going to be, and this was one of the picks, right, Brian?
Yeah, it was.
All right. Next up, this is kind of a follow-up on last week. Race Beyond Matter posted another YouTube video discussing the drama that arose after last week's sarcastic sim racing addiction videos from the sim racing YouTubers out there, Dave Cam and others. And, just pointing out to his fans and his followers, this is sarcastic, even though, we played it straight. A lot of people don't get that. Sarcasm doesn't go over well, I guess, in video. But anyway, he had a follow-up about it, and it was interesting to watch.
Is it just me, or is it worse when you have to explain that you're being sarcastic too? Like, it's people need to just relax.
Right. It was so bad that, that one guy had to, take his video down because he was sick of seeing people talking, crap to him. So what happened was the Armand ham sandwich guy, I guess is how you say his name. He was basically, saying something about one of the other streamers, Boosted Media, the Will Ford guy, in a jokingly sarcastic way, and then the commenters were basically coming after him like, you're beating up on Will Ford, we're coming after you, kind of thing. And so this guy was basically saying, no, they're friends. He meant no harm. I promise you, he meant no harm by it. It was a joke, and that's basically what he was saying in the video. Okay, Tony, we got winner's circle.
I don't think Tony's there, so I'm going to take the next one here, Mike. So we announced what, last week? Was it last week we announced that Quapple was going to have the sponsor for Junior Motorsports with iRacing on board? But even if it wasn't last week or a couple weeks ago, he took the checkered flag at the North State Nationals, won $30,000. And in the iRacing colors, so congrats to Quapple.
Greg, can you hear us? Greg?
What?
Tony's here, and we were all trying. I'm going to cut this out. Tony, you want to do it?
I mean,
start over.
I didn't hear him.
Yeah, but while he was talking, we were all talking over him. So we'll try again. Tony, kick it off with Quapple.
Take two. So, yeah, we got Carson Voppel in the iRacing scheme on the driving for JR Motorsports in the late model, and took it to the winner's circle at the old North State Nationals for a $3,000 prize.
30,000.
I think, right? So the Quapples, there's Carson, and then there's another one. I forget the other one's name, and they're both in the Cars Tour, and one of them won the main race, and one of them won one of the preliminary races.
So basically, just slap the iRacing colors on these cars, and these guys are winning with it, because we see the iRacing in the winner's circle a lot.
Now, I watched Dale Jr. download a video, a part of it today, and he was talking about these boys and how proud he is of how well they're doing so well.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have Dale Junior Motorsports behind you. I'm sure you're getting top equipment, and you're probably getting all the best drivers want to drive for you. So that always helps quite a bit. But still, you gotta go out on track and make it happen. So congratulations. And I think we just had the story last week that this announcement was made for Carson Quaffle to be on this team.
Right, they
So
win
he's
this week.
already cashing in, yeah.
Well, not this program that Junior Motorsports is running with these cars, like, they race everywhere. Like, I don't think they miss a race. They're on track a lot. So
I feel like deja vu here. It's like we talked about this already.
How do you like your eggs, David?
Well, particularly I like to make an omelet. Scrambled is good too, but nothing like a good cheese omelet. Maybe throw in some ham in there. But the eggs in iRacing, we have this topic next. It's Alex Duclos. He asked in the forums, or he mentions that him and his teammates are having a discussion, and he thinks that there's probably a farmer's market advertisement at a dirt track, but he doesn't own them all. And he asked if anyone could settle the debate or mention if there are eggs in iRacing or an image of an egg.
I didn't notice any. I've never happened to see any in any of the billboard signs, but I don't have all the tracks and I don't run them regularly enough to notice. There was a lot of funny comments in the replies to this, with puns about eggs and stuff like that, and chickens and whatnot.
Yeah, I replied as well. I'm thinking maybe he was talking like the Easter egg, like the Steve Meyer Dale Jr. hidden at every track thing. That's an Easter egg, right?
Wasn't there an Easter egg with like a billboard or something? Like that had a spicy take on one of the strip joints or something like that, one of the billboards?
It was a
Yeah, I
phone
remember
number.
that.
Oh, that's what it was.
Somebody called the number and it was an adult phone
That's
number.
what it was.
Yeah.
You see, we don't get those type of things in this as much. Like, that's more of a video game type thing, more than, for a sim like this, right?
Well, he wasn't going for an Easter egg. He's actually looking for an egg.
Is it for a certain track? Like, is a certain track got a farmer's market on it?
Yeah, a lot of the local dirt tracks that are probably in the sim, some of the billboards are just local advertisers, and if you're out in the middle of a farmland, it might be something that you would invest in a billboard if you're a farmer's market. Maybe he's seen an egg-shaped one somewhere before, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen one, but it's interesting.
Darlington.
See the post from Tina Sparkle on this. And Tina points out, hey, we have a user in iRacing, a driver that's named Moist Eggs.
Oh.
That's so gross.
Title idea?
Yeah, that's going to be the title. The other thing, Mike, I mean, could he be talking about Darlington or Gateway? They're shaped like eggs, aren't they?
Moist Eggs.
Oh, you God. We're still there. I thought I blew past that.
I'm going to step away and go fix an omelet now. I'll leave it a little runny for you guys.
Ah.
All right, we're going to go over release notes. It's Season 2, Patch 1. And they did some changes to the iRacing UI. But this release was basically about adding AI racing to the Formula IR04. So remember, we got that car just in the release, and the AI wasn't quite ready. So here it is in Patch 1. So that's the main reason for the release. But they also, made some other adjustments. Let me see if we need to mention some other ones here. Some improvements to AI on some other, the Winton Motor Speedway, as well as the Formula One car. Fixed an issue where some AI drivers would attempt to leave the grid before the car ahead of them had begun to move. That new box, they fixed it. There was a little dash box. If you push the letter D, if you had that up, like you couldn't check, fast repair. They fixed that. Some other little things to the cars. 87 external drivetrain audio levels have been reduced.
Do you think, Mike, looking at this one, the Hyundai Elantra fixed an ambient oscillation issue with trunk area? So obviously it's like had a visual movement to it when it's driving.
Yeah, lots of little things like the Buick LeSabre 87 says fixed an issue with custom driver helmet textures that were not displaying properly.
You wonder if some of these things, how these things crop up when they code something. If it's already in there, how does it get corrupted and change it, or is it something that's been noticed and just we're redoing? I don't know. Like, is it because of the patch that these things pop up? Some of these older vehicles.
I don't know. I'd love to know the workflow a little bit, because I seriously doubt that the users are reporting all these things. I'm sure they're reporting a lot of them, but not everything that they work on. I mean, they're going and finding these problems on their own too.
It may be some things that they find really late or really close to deployment time that they just have to put off. Right? They're just like, well, if we want to get the release out on time, we've got this list of things that have come up late in testing, but that we don't have to do it before the release. And so they're like, we'll just get this a couple of days later.
Well, even if you look at, there's a random one here with the Pontiac Solstice. The roll bar camera is no longer blocked. Like, it just all of a sudden got blocked in the replay view.
Okay, so next, Brian, we have another sponsor announcement.
Yeah, this one is for World of Outlaws Late Model Championship Series. And they have a new title sponsor. It used to be Morton's Builders, and now the sponsorship goes to Butt Kicker. So, so Butt Kicker is going to be the official sponsor of this championship series for the Outlaws Late Models. This series will be kicking off a 10-week season in June of May 2nd. And so that'll be the next time, which is cool because it seems like it's been a while since they've done those. It seems like we've had 2 sprint car series since the last late model series. So I wonder if they didn't change up the time of year that these seasons run. So it's good to see Butt Kicker on. They've worked before with iRacing. They've done special promotions and other things. So they've become a really good sponsor for iRacing. And this is not the same sponsorship for the actual World of Outlaws late models. That also used to be Morton's Builders, but now that is Case Construction sponsors the Real World of Outlaw late models. So there's a different sponsor between the Real World and the iRacing version, but the iRacing version now goes to Butt Kicker. So welcome aboard.
I wonder if World of Outlaw presents to their sponsor, hey, this is you buy in on both of them. the virtual and the real world. So we have a common sponsor. But in this case, obviously, they didn't.
Well, Mike, could it be with the butt kicker too? Like, butt kicker is only relevant to the PC brand, like, you know, to a sim racing brand, right?
True. You're not going to get any dirt fans really needing one, right? But
Well,
sim, sure.
When the dirt and the short track people really hate iRacing even more if they got a sim racing sponsor for their actual series, because they already hate that people don't go out to the local short track. Sometimes they just race, or some of the other professionals race on here.
Well, how about trophy chucking it with the cup cars? Looks like we can do that at Atlanta. If you catch that grass, the little roadways that kind of cut through the grass, looks like you might be able to pick up some air. I don't know if this was just specific to this one race that we see in on Instagram. They posted a video. No, this week I've hit the grass, but I don't remember if I caught any air. I don't know if I went over those little roadways.
Yeah, so
Boy.
many of these guys went off. I don't think this was an accident.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it kind of looks odd, like it, you know, they did it on purpose, or it was like a practice or something, maybe a league.
They also didn't. They also didn't try to stay out of the pits once they. Some of those guys just kept coming all the way down. If you enter the pits from the grass, you're going to get a hefty penalty.
Maybe that's part of the Joker lap.
Is that like that? Wasn't there a series that they were using the Talladega pit? Weren't they using a pit road as like a cutoff for a league race?
It was an option. It was optional.
That's what it was.
So if you have tried to stop under green at Atlanta this week, you're more than likely end up in the grass. It's hard.
I guess that is a possibility that many people just completely missed pit road. But again, they just didn't look like they were trying to avoid going on in after they got down there.
Well, there was a wreck, wasn't there?
Sorry, I just got like live confirmation that, yep, it definitely works. I just saw Lisa go through the grass over those hot air. Perfect.
Anything else we need her to test while we're on here?
I couldn't have timed that any better.
You know, I was actually pretty impressed with how realistic those jumps looked. They didn't look overly exaggerated or completely out of whack with what you might actually see when cars go over these bumps.
True. All right. Next up is Learn Racing from Ottinger. Nick Ottinger put up a video. It's on Twitter, and it's how to race, kind of. I mean, he goes through all the different disciplines: oval, road, dirt oval, dirt road, and gives basically tips and tricks for each discipline. The one that I remember the most from the video is trying to come off straight on a road course, off a corner. Like, get the car turned as much as you need it to get to turn, and then as you're coming off the exit, just make sure that car is as straight as it can be, coming off, so you can be in the gas and go. And he, he shows examples of him doing it as well, but lots of tips like that that he provides. And if you want to learn something, especially about one of the disciplines that you're not good at, you might pick something up. It's pretty cool.
It's kind of nice that he's kind of giving back to the community that way too, right?
Well, this is actually on a Twitter from what's called TSM FTX, which I'm not even sure what that is. Some website, obviously, and they have a tsmshop.com.
It's like an esports broadcasting site.
Yeah, they have esports merchandise here. Pretty cool. But he's working in, some kind of collaboration with them, obviously, on this. And it's an 8-minute video.
Not too many more drivers you would want to get advice from than Nick Ottinger.
Well, especially after this week's race, man, he was looking really good out there.
I'm a little surprised that he's doing all these different disciplines too. I'm sure he's good in all of them because aliens are that way.
Well, I wonder if he'll be learning this new car. We got a video coming up next that's a spotlight of the stock car Brazil. It's posted by iRacing on their YouTube channel, and I gave this a quick watch. It was only 2 minutes. And this is an interesting thing about these cars. They're kind of almost like a TCR car, except they're a little bit more closely related to stock cars, though they do have the wing, but they don't have quite the downforce that some of the TCRs have. But also they have a basically an extra power mode. It's almost like a push to pass option that is limited even only in practices, and you don't even get to reset it if you tow. So you can't sit there and just constantly spam push to pass to get a hot lap, right? And it actually has a timer on it for 5 seconds, and then it runs for like 21 seconds, where you have extra horsepower for an extra 100 horsepower for about 21 seconds, and you can use it 6 times per heat and or race.
It's kind of like the IndyCar where they do it by time because they give extra boost. These cars aren't boosted though, so it's got to be like a KERS electrical system. I don't think they're turbocharged though.
All it said was an extra 100 horsepower.
Yeah, it doesn't say.
I'll have to look that up. I'd be interested to see what system they use to do it.
Yeah, I think the narrator is Matt Holden, who's one of the vehicle engineers. He describes the push to pass that David did, but also they do a heat race and then they do a main event. Is basically how they're doing it.
And just a little bit ago, we were talking about the season 2 patch notes, and last week we covered the build, right? And now we have a video talking about it, Brian.
Yeah, so we went over all the a lot of the details that were in the last season's build, all the new stuff, all the changes and things like that. I think we do a really good job covering all this stuff. But iRacing puts out a YouTube video on their iRacing YouTube channel that actually has in video format the all the new changes in the season 2 build. So it's a nice, fairly compact way of seeing what all these new things look like, in a video. iRacing always does really high quality videos as far as that kind of stuff goes. There's certainly no exception to that rule. So if you want to see a little bit more about what's in the season 2 build that you might not have understood or like to see in service, go check this video out. It's pretty cool.
This is a great idea because how many iRacers out there never touch the forums and they never go looking for stuff like this? But maybe you can reach that casual iRacer because it's social media, because it's YouTube. They're sitting on the couch on their phone. They see a video from iRacing. Oh, it's only a couple minutes, man. I'm going to watch this. And they learn all the build notes, just by watching a short video. So it's a brilliant way to, get the word out to more people, I think.
Some people will just prefer consuming it that way anyway as well, right? Instead of reading a long list of text.
Right.
You could also just listen to our show. We'll lay it down for pretty well too.
That's real easy, right?
Though we're preaching to the choir. I'll pick up the next one, I guess. We have the Kraventex Endurance Series. iRacing is announcing this new Kraventex iRacing Series. It's a 4-round team racing championship that's that features a series of 12-hour endurance race events at some of the big road courses. It's coming back with the introduction to the Porsche 911 GT3 car, which is actually the 992. And it's also going to have the GT4s and the touring cars in it. This is the second year they're doing it, and there's 4 circuits. They're going to Spa, Hockenheimring, Sebring, and Monza, or no, not Monza, Imola. All right. And I already mentioned the cars, so that'll be an interesting 12-hour event in those smaller cars.
Is this the series that absorbed the race known as the 24 Hours of Le Mans, or was that a different one?
No, that's the biggest cars. That's LMP1, LMP2, and GTE.
Okay. Shows you what I know.
So should we talk about another 24-hour event then coming up in from April 8th to 10th at the it's going to be the 24 hours of the Nerdberg Ring. So this is another iRacing special event. Normal time slots are Friday, and then the Friday night one, and then the 3 Saturday ones for everyone. And this is a long, grueling race in one of probably the most difficult track to do an endurance race on.
It's even more unforgiving than say Bathurst.
No, thank you.
Yeah, the challenge. I mean, it's so long. The biggest challenge is not knowing which way to turn. It's just kind of remembering with that many turns, which turn is a high-speed turn where you just coast, and which turn is a turn where you have to brake. That's where I'd always get in trouble when I was trying to learn it, because I would just forget to brake at a corner that I needed to brake.
Yeah, you're thinking it's the corner, a different corner than it actually is when you get to it.
Yeah, I had to start memorizing the kilometer marker signs as kind of warnings as to where they were.
I learned that track back in the day. I was better at it then. I haven't raced it on here, but I learned it better in a console game, Gran Turismo, where they split it up into 4 sections when you learn it, and then they put it together that way when you're getting a license for it. So it's kind of nice to try the track when you're learning it in sections.
Well, yeah, at least the one good thing when you're practicing there is you don't go all the way back to the start-finish line when you wreck. There are a lot of checkpoints, which does help a little, but it took me, I don't know, 2 or 3 many hours before I finally actually set a lap time when I was trying to get ready for that. But before we finish up the segments or the events segment, probably should still actually have Sebring on here as well, right? Because that's coming up not this weekend, but the following weekend. I know me and Greg are running that with one of the Crisscross guys. We've got that schedule already set up. And also, Sim Coaches has recently announced a neat thing. Unfortunately, right now, this first time around, it's only going to be for actual pedal owners. So I guess it's me, Kyle, and Bobby. Or no, was it Bobby that bought the Sim Coaches, the other set?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So we got a Formula One watch party that's going to be going on this Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be on their Discord channel. There's no requirements. Just come on and hang out in the chat. They're going to be actually streaming the F1 live stream and having commentary and talk as it goes. So if you own the pedals, check that out. If you don't, go buy a pair and make sure you put in our code when you do.
Another reason to buy pedals. Wow.
Unfortunately for most of us, if we're awake at that time, we're usually running NIS.
All right, podcast housekeeping. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. Tony, what's going on over there?
Oh, that's a good question. We're gonna try and put something together this week. But I can just say, once again, just don't hold your breath. But we're gonna try. We'll see what's going on.
All right, very good. Check our website. And we are on regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network.
All right, Tony, let's talk fantasy.
Yeah. I think I think I'm holding down the fort, like last place somewhere way down. Man, oh man. I'm like personally, I suck this year. I can't seem to catch a break whatsoever, but we got a bunch of people that did catch breaks. Greg, it looks like you are top dog for Tifosi in the fantasy league for last race. And that's sitting in 10th place. Guys,
You're gonna laugh at me though, Tony, because I think at just before we got to that the second stage there end where it locks it in, I took who did I take out? I took Kyle Busch out to leave Larson in, and then Larson, after they went green, blew up his motor or lost that power to his motor. So I went from second down to like 10th. I kept seeing it go down as we went.
yeah. What do you do, right? Like sometimes that just happens. I don't even think I've seen inside the top 10 at all. Like race, I'm not even sure if I've seen inside top 10 at all this year yet. But yeah, it's early yet. But and that was a weird race, and like we got another weird one coming up. Everything's new, like new. Like we don't even have like track history because it's a new repave, and they're doing everything weird and different, and it's gonna be scary.
Well, I don't know if any of you guys listened to Door Bumper Clear or the Dale Jr. download this week. The way that they described how this track possibly could race between all three series might be one of the most unique weeks in NASCAR history, because we're used to Daytona and Talladega as a restrictor plate slash close together track. This track could bring that kind of racing for at least the first part of a run with tires. Maybe as they get worn out, it might not be as good.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I know they were talking. Was that Justin Allgaier was talking on Dale Jr. download about the just racing the one lane, and that was only because they didn't want to put the car in harm's way. I don't think we'll see a lot of single track. I hope we don't see a lot of single lane stuff, because that will just suck. But I don't know, like with this much unknown, like with the track and stuff, I'm kind of thinking about leaning towards a typical speedway pick, and kind of going with guys I know I'm not going to use a whole lot throughout the year. I don't know, kind of like a shot in the dark, really. Like, what are you guys thinking?
Watermelon Man.
Yeah, I'm not going to put any of the heavy hitters in. I'm going to save them for this race just because you just don't know what's going to happen.
I like your thought there, Mike. That's actually a really good choice.
Well, between him, the 8 car, there's a bunch of guys that are knocking on the door for a win.
The 8.
Though I don't play the fantasy, while we're talking real cup drivers, I have to say that I have now adopted, for the first time in a while, a new favorite cup driver. If you listen to the Dale Jr. download, Austin Cindric is a tuba player all the way through high school. So, yeah.
That's
there
your
it
guy
is.
now, eh?
That's my guy.
Are you into jazz as much as he is too?
Yeah, I play quite a bit of jazz. My workout playlist will be insane. It'll jump between Dizzy Gillespie and Slipknot. All right, let's jump into the hardware software. The first thing we're going to talk is probably not the last thing we're going to talk, as this is going to be happening all across the board on everything, as inflation is becoming pretty rampant. Fanatec has announced this week that starting March 17th, they're going to have several products across the CSL Club Sport and Podium lines increasing in price. They're trying to keep the changes to a minimum, and the products will stay the same. And they are trying to retain the basic pricing for the core components of the systems, the wheelbases. And in the process of reassessing, they've also dropped a few products. But, I just had to order a new marching band podium, speaking real life, and it cost half of the price of the podium to ship it because it has to be shipped via truck. Everything's just gonna go out the wazoo price wise. And so this is not surprising, and you can't blame them. It costs them that much money just to get the products now.
Man.
That's I don't know if you said the date, but it starts today, or sorry, as of tomorrow. Sorry, the increases can go up.
So as of 18th, March 18th.
Yeah, so that would be tomorrow.
17th is on the notes anyway.
I'm just glad I bought the Podium Hub when I did before this increase, and when I did buy it, it was 180, which I thought was outrageous. But I'm afraid to even look at what it is now.
To take like a snapshot of all their prices, what they are, and then see what they switch to by the weekend, maybe.
I'm gonna go look now that you say that.
It's $199.95 for the Podium Hub.
So $20.
That's a pretty big increase. That's a decent sized increase for a tiny product.
10%. So it'd be a good guess they increased their prices 10%.
That compared to how some things have gone up, I think that's not outrageous. You know, it's just the current situation. One guy who probably doesn't necessarily have to worry about increasing parts prices might be Boosted Media. He posted a new setup, Brian.
Yeah, so Boosted Media, that's Will Ford's YouTube channel. He's got a really impressive rig, and it sounded like he just put it in a new house or a new house that he was moving into. So he goes through the process of rebuilding his rig in the new house and all the steps he went through to get it set up. He's got 3 triple 65 4K monitors. So massive. It's a massive system, and he's got a 4th monitor overhead for telemetry, plus his full motion rig. He's got really nice hardware. I looked it up because in the video you actually see the make and model of his monitors as he's rebuilding it. They're $5,000 monitors each, and he's got 3 of them. So he's got 15 grand and just in monitors set up. And who knows what kind of computer he's got to run that, because that's a massive resolution to run on there. So it's really cool. If you want to see how he built this thing, he does use a lot of 80/20 parts, component systems to set the triples up. He does a really good job showing you how he got the monitors lined up. He did a great job setting that thing in. It's just an impressive rig. He's got the video that he did with the Hughes Philips Hughes lights for the ambient lighting. He installed those as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
There's a lot of good stuff in this video. I mean, for one, the ambient lighting. Of course, I have that project as well on my rig. But he talks about some of the nuances of how you set that up. Like, he was keen that he didn't see it with his visible eye, like a direct, visual to it, because, you don't want that bright hitting your eyeball. And so he made sure it was, behind something, the faucet, the soffit or whatever, so it wasn't shining direct. And just little details like that you never really think of until you're actually putting this together. Where am I going to put it, and that kind of stuff. The other part was, it really got me thinking about the 65s and what a brilliant idea this is. Why? Because you get really high vertical FOV, right? You're going to be able to see the dash even though it's triples, okay? Because like with my triples with 27s, I can't see the dash. But if I had triple 65s, I can, because there's more vertical FOV. And the trick to that is, what, as I watched this video, was the distance he is eyeball to that screen has to be just right. and it has to be dead center too, top to bottom, left to right. But the distance is the key part. So it doesn't look like everything is too big. It doesn't look like everything is too small, and you got to have the right kind of space to build something like this. Obviously, he's using a big living room kind of area to build it.
I was gonna say the mounts to hold 65-inch TVs would be really heavy, right? You'd have to have a really strong, those Versa mounts maybe? Would those be strong enough for them?
This is a takeoff of the SimLab triple monitor mount. He basically used the components from that, but added obviously longer pieces of, so it would be big enough for those monitors. And like you said, the mounts, Greg, I'm sure that he has those specific to those TVs, but they're mounted right to the 8020.
They look more like just the mount that you would get for a big screen TV for your house. Just instead of attaching it to the wall, he's got it attached to the 8020.
Which makes sense.
Because it once you hook it on, it slides left and right on the bracket that's attached to the 8020, just like you can kind of do that with some of the TV mounts that you get for homes, for big screen TVs.
Which means that you calculated what, $1,500 worth of TVs, probably get another $500 in mounts.
No, $15,000.
Or $15,000, sorry. So he's got another $500 worth of mounts.
Easy. That doesn't include the overhead monitor for his telemetry too.
So I would definitely say that Will would be justified in buying a high-end F1 wheel.
Well, he has the wheel I bought. I mean, in fact, all his recent videos, if you look, he's using it every time.
He's got the Semicube ultimate wheelbase too. So he's got a really nice wheelbase.
These videos here is where you get stuck down a wormhole, seeing some of these guys' nice rigs and go, this is where I spend my money. This is how you get your money spent.
You're right, Greg. I mean, I'm looking at this video thinking this is my next project. Is the 65s. I mean, it's just brilliant, and I have the room to do it. I have a room that's big enough I could actually pull this off. Maybe not 65s, maybe 55s or something like that. 55s are a lot more affordable. You can go to Costco and get a cheap 55-inch television, maybe.
If I was going to out instead of VR, I would almost want to go projector, like the big 180-degree projections.
Too much heat.
I was just gonna say, the thing is when you get that big, you got to make sure you get refresh rates that are good, because the bigger they are, like a TV is really, when you're sim racing on a TV, sometimes it's not as good depending on what kind of TV it is.
A brilliant idea. When I started seeing the vertical FOV, like the monitor is so big and it's behind his wheelbase and his pedals, because it's so big, that the bottom of the monitor is down at his feet almost. Okay. So when he's looking visually past the wheelbase, I mean, he's seeing the car recreated, it looks freaking cool.
It looks like he's in the car, with the dash.
In the car. Now, can I recreate the same thing with something slightly smaller? That would be my project. I think 65. Does it need to be 65 for the physics to work and all that? I don't know.
Well, Mike, you have 27s, right?
Yeah.
See, when I went to the 32s, it sits down on top of my actual wheelbase, so I kind of feel like I'm sitting behind a dash all the time anyways with my 32s.
Yeah. And he talked about the empty space that's around the wheelbase and stuff. He's going to have that all blacked out, so it looks all premium and you can't see through and all that. I don't know, Brian, if he said how he was going to do that, but yeah, and the big thing again, the Philips Hue lighting system, guys. It's expensive, but it's such a nice add-on. I mean, it just gives you that little nice touch.
Well, it's kind of just, most of us just race in a one light room, or like I can change the color lights in my room for what I want to race in. But if you're in VR, like David would be, you can't change the light because it needs for the sensors. But that kind of system, when you're racing on triples and you want to immerse your room and make your room part of the whole thing, it's kind of a cool add-on.
There'd really also be no point in changing the light when you're in VR.
Yeah, I was saying it through that, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go blow by this one after I said it.
So Mike, he's got those bezels too in the corners between the monitors that you have, and he mentioned in the video that they're discontinued, so he can't get them anymore, and he's actually looking to see if anybody has one to sell, if he has for replacements, if in case he has any issues.
I sold mine, by the way, to an old iRacer from the past. Hoyt Smith bought those from me.
Now, would those be different sizes? Because obviously a 65 would be a different breed, right?
Two of them together with tape or something.
Okay, that would make sense.
And he mentioned like he had a string, like a fishing line or something. He would attach to the middle of it, and he would pull the fishing line in between the screens so it wouldn't bow out. The plastic thing would bow out a little bit because it was so long, and so they used a little string to pull it back, so it was taut against the monitor.
And that makes a better view as you transition, right?
They've got you can like kind of DIY those things now. I can't remember the name of the
Lexican.
Yeah. There's some pretty good tutorials on how to make all that work. So that might be I don't know, if you got 65-incher, that's probably what I would do. Kind of figure out that.
I haven't looked at the comments, but I assume somebody told him about that. But like Tony said, you can buy this stuff and just make your own.
Well, Greg, it looks like we have a new DD base, right?
Yeah, we've heard of Monza before. Now they had another. Did they have a direct drive before, Mike?
They had
Yeah,
the
they have
R16.
two direct drives.
Okay.
Yeah, and another one too. They're the ones that kind of have that bronzish orange color.
That's what, like the round finish back, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these Monzas are releasing their new R9 DD base, priced at $439 plus VAT, or with the GT style Formula steering wheel, you can get it for $499 plus VAT. So it's basically, all these direct drives have the same type of look to them. It's got the same cube style. Says Mons on it. It's kind of actually really nice though. I kind of like this design, but I mean, these direct drive prices are starting to get really, really lower, or starting to come down now.
Moza.
Sorry. Yeah, there's no N.
And this is their 9 Newton meter offering.
Now the CSL DD is 8 with the upgraded power. So this is in direct competition with that. And man, the price, $499 with the wheel. Now, if you look at the wheel, it's really nice looking too.
I'm pretty sure that wheel is $499. The base itself is $439.
Oh,
There's no way they're
Okay.
selling that for for.
Like, wow, what a deal.
I was gonna say, but that'd be awesome if they did.
Now, since we're talking
it's a real
about it,
looking.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a nice looking Formula wheel they have. That GS Formula is a good looking wheel.
It is.
I'm going to go ahead and jump around on the script as well, because we also have a video covering this item put by Sean Cole and Simpit. So if you look at a little bit further down, he's got the video reviewing it. Mike, did you get to watch this one?
Yeah, he liked it. There's a white version of this, so it comes in black, as you can see, but you can actually order it in white, and boy, that looks sharp. It's heavy, as you would imagine. He had a lot of good things to say about it. I mean, at the quick release, it looks awesome. I mean, the way it goes off and on, and it doesn't, there's no play in it at all, like the Fanatec.
That quick release is almost identical to like the one that I have on the SimMagic, and yeah, they're awesome. They're very tight. There's, like you said, there's no wiggle. And he did mention he really liked the quietness. And I don't know what the DD, like the Fanatec one's like. I know SimMagic's super quiet. I'd have to imagine Fanatec's is pretty quiet as well.
The CSL DD, yes, because it's fanless. Now my DD1 makes all kinds of noise. It's got fans and stuff.
Oh,
And the power
okay.
supply has fans.
Just do what I do. Get the surround sound, and it drowns out everything. You guys can't even hear me talk.
I was about to say exactly.
So yeah, I did watch the video as well, and I kind of had it on the background, just picking up bits here and there, but I did pay attention really well to the end, because Sean Cole, when he reviews stuff at the end, he does a real good job going over pluses and minuses, and he had a lot of pluses, a lot of stuff you mentioned. He said it was really smooth in the turning. But he really had a hard time thinking of anything negative to say about it. Oh, and by the way, also, the bolt pattern for it to mount is identical to the Fanatec. So if you have a 8020 rig that's set up for Fanatec products, this will mount directly to the Fanatec one. So that's good to know if you're wondering how you're going to mount this thing. So yes, he didn't really have a lot of bad things to say with it. He did mention that the steering wheels are proprietary to this one, so it's not interchangeable. So that was one thing he said. If you want to say that's a negative, you could say that's a negative, but they're not the only company that does that.
They're
And
nice wheels, though.
he was pretty impressed. Yeah.
But does that also mean I can't take some other wheel I have and put on this? It probably means that too.
Yes, it sounds like that's what it means.
That is correct.
Now, Tony, you were just in the market for a wheel and got one. What if you were in the market today for a wheel? Would this be a consideration?
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. It would definitely be a consideration. It would actually probably be between the one that I got and this one. That's probably where I start my research. And when Fanatec first came out with their the DD, the small one, that was a consideration too, until it was like the shipping nightmares. That's pretty much what wrote that out for me. Because with the SimMagic, I got it within, it was under 2 weeks. It was to my door.
I think people are looking for a reason not to buy Fanatec. I mean, like you said, with the shipping problems, the customer service problems that we've heard about in the past, they're in Germany and, they're hard to reach, all these different things. If I was in the market for a new wheel and I was looking at an affordable DD base, I mean, I'd be looking at SimMagic or Moza before I'd be looking at Fanatec, I think, just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge consideration as well. I know, like, some of the groups that I belong to for the SimMagic, the customer service is done quite well. Now it's done a little differently than Fanatec. Like, you don't send anything back right to SimMagic. You go through your authorized dealer, and they have a handful in North America. I think there's 2 or 3 in Canada. So it's it makes, if you do have issues, makes things a lot easier than sending it all the way to Fanatec, or SimMagic's case, you had to send it all the way back China. So I haven't heard a whole lot of horror stories with that part of the deal. I mean, I'm sure there are some. I just haven't. I haven't come across them anything serious, like silly little things that don't really much matter. Sure, but nothing big yet.
Yeah, and so Sean Cole goes over the software as well. He said good things about that. it's got the oval wheel, it's got a formula wheel, so it's not a bad package. And yeah, if you're in the market, you need to take a look at Moza. And
All right. That's a pretty good wrap on that. Did you have anything else, Mike? Okay. The next thing we have, Mike, is this basically the same thing as the hub, as this Fanatec emulator?
yeah, so I was looking at this. Actually, a listener sent this in to us on Discord. I forget who, but I had already bought what I needed from Fanatec before I saw this, but I had looked at this and other things like it before I made a decision. Um, the difference is you have to permanently install this into your base. So you have to take apart the base, the shaft that you have here now. You install this thing in it. You can see the pins as well, and it basically gives you a. It's called a Fanatec Emulator. It's 95 pounds, and it emulates the podium hub basically. So the force feedback will still work when you put some random wheel on it. The thing is when you hook a wheel to this thing, it's permanently hooked unless you like unscrew it. So it's not like it's easy to switch from one to the other.
So there's no quick release and no option to go back to a wheel that doesn't require the hub.
Not on this particular unit
Yeah.
from this company. Now I've seen another one from another company, I think down in Australia, and they have one with a quick release, but I still decided against it because I don't know why, but I decided not to.
Sometimes when you go with us, I guess would you call it aftermarket or other market items, even though you're paying less, it can be a situation where you get what you're paying for. Another thing that's notable on this website is he says he's having trouble keeping his stock up because of the supply issues in China with COVID.
Yeah, stock, it's out of stock. Well, that was the other part of it too, is everything I was looking at was out of stock. So I'll place the order with Fanatec and just wait.
What about this wheel button, Tony? I think you got this next one.
Yeah, now this is a 3D printed add-on for the Fanatec NASCAR wheels, and because they don't really come with any buttons, correct?
If you buy the hub, but the hub is so small in the center, it's really hard to reach.
Okay, so maybe that's what this is for, is to extend that hub. So you kind of like take, so you take that apart, print off these pieces, and it's a little easier or a little better accessible. Yeah, it's free as long as you got a printer or know somebody that has a printer or got a library that can print.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, Greg is showing us, if you're on the cameras, you'll see Greg is holding up all the buttons are right around the center of the rim.
Yeah, so this add-on that you can print will move all your buttons a little closer to the outside of that rim, so a lot more accessible. Yeah, that's a great visual. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, there's one of the downfalls. Like I know instead of I have to use on my NASCAR rim, I use the back paddles for push to talks, and I would really like to use a button instead and use the push to talks to do something else for the car, because since your hands are there all the time. But it just seems it's just the easiest one to reach, and this here would be actually a really good thing to extend the buttons out, which I'm gonna bookmark this site and possibly purchase something like this later on.
Yeah, even the F1 rim that I have, if except for all the buttons that you can easily reach with your thumb without having to take your hand off, if you can't do that, then they're not usable in race conditions. There's the 3 extra buttons kind of down in the middle and low. You can get to those, but you have to take your hand off. So those are only for like some chat macros or something that you're just not going to have to hit when you're going around a corner, because you're not taking your hand off when you're going around, say, the Porsche curves.
Greg, I'll have to show you how I routed my buttons on my NASCAR hub wheel. I actually I ran them through the spokes of the wheel, double-sided taped them to it, so they're actually right on the the buttons, and it works pretty well. I haven't had them fall off or anything.
You have the hub though, right? Do you have the Xbox hub, or just the normal hub?
I have the Xbox hub.
Now, David, here's the question. Just thinking of this, do you guys have the problems with the button caps breaking very often?
All of mine are gone. I don't
Okay,
replace.
that's what I was. They're so cheap when you push on them.
They're garbage.
I don't even replace them when they fall off. It's not worth it.
I was replacing them with the spares for a while, and then I just decided it was kind of more comfortable without them.
Yeah, in VR, you don't need to see what they say on them or nothing, with the little icons they have, so who cares?
You don't? You can't visually see things in VR? Right outside your rig?
Last time I tried.
All right,
Only
Mike,
if it's lighting.
Mike, what do you think on time? Do we got time for any more, or you want to jump into the results?
Yeah, let's do one more here.
All right, did you look this one over? Because I gave it a look as well. We didn't assign this one to anybody.
Yeah, this one is crazy. So Bino is the guy called Bino van Rensburg from Australia. Now, if you've been on the show a long time, you've known we've got a lot of hardware stories from Bino in the past from the old forums. And now he's resurrected one of his old threads from the old forum as he's finishing up a project here. And so he started in the new forums a thread on his Project Doppler DIY hydraulic high-end pedals. And he posted up some high-res photos of where he's at currently. And holy cow, guys. I mean, these things are beast. Now, the other thing I want to point out is the picture that we put in the script. If you look underneath the pedal plate, look at how it's mounted to the rig. He's got these rubber grommets basically in between the pedal plate and the rig that basically give audio isolation for butt kicker reasons. I mean, it's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? No, I mean, actually, Steve Thompson has told me to do something similar to this. And so he's doing it a little bit different way. He was using those rubber horse mats where he would cut chunks of rubber and then he would run the screws through the rubber to mount these parts so they don't touch, basically, metal to metal.
There's a lot of neat pictures here.
It's kind of overwhelming to look at all these pictures. Like, he's done it really detailed.
This
That's
guy's
the best. Sorry, Greg. That was the best way to describe this. Overwhelming. It's a little jaw dropping.
This guy's got to have an engineering degree of some kind.
Something, but like he's using braided lines that are. He's probably got to have. You got to have certain, tools to make a braided line properly, and all the you gotta. All these Wellwood master cylinders and just I really like you're right, Mike, though, the way he has it mounted into the rig with the bushings. It's really cool.
I think Bino was involved in the early development of the first direct drive wheels. And so, yeah, he definitely knows his sim hardware.
He's also using, it looks like, nylon washers just to further minimize any kind of rattling around.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. The white, yeah, he's definitely using that.
He's a freaking genius.
Okay, so with that, we're going to jump over to results. Let's talk the NASCAR iRacing series. Finish up last week. I'll start out. P9 came from 13th, then ran top 5 most of the race, ended up getting loose as the race got closer to the end, and I lost it with 32 to go and lost all my track position. This was even more bittersweet than Wednesday night because the guy who won was actually crashed out Wednesday night, and I had nothing for him. I really felt like this was an opportunity to win that I let, and it hurts, man. I let it slip, Darn it. Tom Dreiling P5 started in the rear, was able to work my way up to the top 10 most of the race. I was better on a long run. Unfortunately, we had a few cautions at the end of the race. Was able to scrape to a top 5. I'll take it. Time for a little vacation. We'll be back Wednesday for more fun and games. Tony Rochette says, Phoenix hates me. Race ended early with an ass, losing it out of 2, missing the putt barrels, and right into me on the wall. Was early on, so went to play some Horizon Forbidden West.
Tony.
Brian, P8.
Yeah, so I finally managed to get through an NIS race with getting wiped out in the first 5 laps. So that was on the side. This race I was actually okay speed wise. This is the same race that I was talked about earlier, where I got a black flag for passing under yellow when I went into the pits, and that kind of set me back. But I wound up working my way up to the top 5, and in the last section, I dropped to P8. And the reason really was I was just terrible in 3 and 4. I could not get through that turn well. It seemed like I was people were out breaking me going into it and getting off better. So that turn really cost me a couple of spots at the end of that race. So I didn't really have time to figure it out. So it just was what it was. But I'll take a P8 after my last couple of weeks.
Hey, top 10, right? Adam Jocelyn was wrecked out. He said top 10, 5 speed last night. Went from 22nd to 10th, running down the next 5 cars in front of me. Couple of cautions, and my car's gears wasn't great for 3 to 4 laps, and I fell back to 16th, got frustrated, busted my ass in turn 1, and smoked the wall. I was rolling center better than all the cars around me, too. Tony Groves wrecked out.
Yep. Phoenix sucks. I'm not very good at it. And I don't know. I was within the first, I think, 20 laps. I got loose coming out of one of the corners. I don't even know where they're numbered anymore. And some guy decided he just was going to try to drive right through me, not give me any chance to kind of get control back in the car. He put me to the inside wall and blew. My car was done. It was toast. So that was enough of that.
All right, Sunday Open, Tony Rochette. Phoenix still hates me. Burn the dog leg down. Jackass lost it in the dog leg and shot right into me against the front stretch wall with 14 to go and in 8th. Can't ever catch a break at Phoenix, and we will not ever speak of Phoenix ever again. Stricken from my record. Okay, Sunday fixed. How about me? P3. That's the best result of the week, guys, and I got it. A record 21 cautions. 21. That's 86 laps of yellow, guys. I got taken out a couple times. It wasn't a lot of damage, and I recovered well.
Did you even need to change tires?
We did, but we didn't really need to. Yeah, more than half of it under caution.
Yeah, congrats, though, Mike. P3, that's really tough to do at that stupid track.
Well, after the year I've had and all the bad luck too, I mean, to have that, I think that's my best finish of the year. P7 I had once, but other than that, nothing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm saying to get that, at that track, because it's a tough freaking deal, right? Like no matter what, it's tough. So to get that, it's got to be a pretty sweet little taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it was a good run. Tyler Williamson ran with me. He ran 12th. Phoenix sucked, he said. Really wasn't a good race. Got caught up in a few wrecks with other guys, and even got caught up in a wreck with my teammate. That was me. I actually took him out in this wreck, but I had 20 incident points where maybe 4 of them were his fault. It was a caution fest. Net coated with a guy where we touched rear tires and sent him spinning as we avoided a wreck. Gives me a nice 4X door hit under caution. It wasn't a good night. Okay, moving on to Wednesday Open. David P. wrecked.
Yeah, I just got dive bombed by the same driver who you might well, we don't call names, but we had a guy that that was dive bombing a lot of people in our league race actually on Monday, and then griping at everybody else. And he did the same thing in this race, and just kind of came up and hit me. I wasn't giving him a ton of room because he dive bombed me, but you know, it is what it is. I thought after going out of town for the weekend, my luck might reset, and I was wrong.
So David's gone from torpedo to bombed.
Yeah. So which other warlike actions are left?
Shotgun.
Knifed.
Tanked.
Yeah, that's what my iRating's doing.
Come down to where I am, David. It is fun.
I'd really have to tank to do that.
Not really.
About 800.
Why are you 3,800?
36.
Okay, you only have to go 600.
All right, I got P13. I actually ran pretty good, got up to P2, and then I had bad luck with the way the cautions fell. The caution would come out right after I stopped for green flag stops. Not once, but twice it happened. We had green flag stops, and then the caution would come out, and I lost all my spots. Eventually, though, I spun out. I hit the wall pretty hard. It was 3.5 minutes damage and just brought it home. All right, Tyler, P15. He finished 2 laps down, ran a solid race, but missed pit entry on the final fuel lap. Ended up running out of gas, coasting to pit road, got loose in turn 2 and was taken out by a car who had their brake bias down in the 30s and couldn't stop. Was able to get repaired and keep up with the top 8. Felt good to finally be fast. My luck will turn around.
Who said he had his brake bias down in the 30s?
The guy who ran over him.
It was the guy who ran over him.
In a cup car?
Yeah.
There's no way he has it that low. I don't think you can go down that far. I think it stops at 40. I'd have to check, but I don't think it goes that far. That's you're basically only rear braking.
Okay, here we go. Tony Rochette, P1. Hey, yo, what you get when you get a pole, led the most and fastest laps? You get a chubby burb in victory lane for a 3rd time and 9 NIS starts. What a way to have a send-off for the old Atlanta and redemption for my 2nd places from last year. Dominant car all race except on old tire restarts. But the burb, frankly, didn't give a damn by setting Atlanta and was gone with the wind.
Okay, we need to petition iRacing or get Matt Malone to help us out here and actually make Chubby Burb an achievement in the iRacing.
We have to get a chubby burb.
I don't want to know what a chubby burb is.
Is that like a swirly?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to watch the end of Tony's race and spot for him because his race always goes longer than everyone else's for some reason. But it was like the last few laps, and I joined, and he had a 5-6 second lead over second. The guy was coming though. He was 0.2 a lap. I did the math. I'm like, he's going to catch you at the end. He's going to be 0.4 back from you. And sure enough, at the last lap, he was 0.4 back. I was right. But I was just coaching him. I was telling him, hey, he got a 10th on you there. Hey, he got another 10th. Hey, you were able to hold him that late, that one. Good job. Just keep hitting your marks. And just talking him through it, making sure he knew how far that guy was back. And he hit his marks and he got it done. Well done. Now, the other heartbreak, but bittersweet, was Tom Dreiling, P2. He almost won it. Started 17th, was running between 5th and 10th most of the race. Got caught once after green flag stops a lap down. I was able to make my way to the top till there was a restart with 12 to go. I decided to pit. Restarted 4th, was just a little loose on the restart. Made the pass for 2nd going to the line. I'll take a top 5 and look forward to Sunday. Now, at one point early in this race, he was running 1st. I was running 2nd. Tyler was back there somewhere, but coming. We were looking good. I mean, we were in position to win this race. I had my bad luck and it didn't do so well. But Tom, man, he was right there and almost got it done. All right, we ran today, Thursday Open. Bobby ran, Bobby Jonas. I don't know how he finished. I left before he finished. He was running seventh, I think, when I left.
Yeah, he said 7th is where he finished.
7th? Okay. And Adam Jocelyn ran. He got wrecked out. Super frustrated. I ran. I got P12. Got the steering ratio right this time. But I still sucked and would get loose in the middle of 1 and 2 and pound that outside wall. I probably did it 6 or 7 times. Not a bad finish for sucking so bad. And that was my problem at Atlanta is turn 1 and 2. When I get back on the gas, the car just wants to go left, and then I overcorrect, and I slam into the outside wall. And I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. I thought I had it fixed with the steering ratio changes today, but I still did it. I still fucked up. Let's talk A Open. Tony Groves, big win.
Yeah, that was huge, and I certainly didn't expect it, and it all came down right to like a green white checker finish. And I mean, we had a great set, and David actually helped me out right at the beginning of the race because I was having that problem through 1 and 2, and well, I did a very last minute set change, and so I had no idea how it was really going to react. David told me, make a couple of adjustments and back my corners up like through 1 and 2. I was having the same issues as you were, sliding all over the place. Once I made those changes, then it was off to the races. And then I don't know, after like 10, 15 laps, the car really came to me. Green, white checker, everybody else, like the leader was always going on green. So I didn't know how much better I was than, second and third place. So I decided to go a little sooner and got the jump on them, and they just couldn't catch me. I was too fast through the corners for them. They were battling. So, yeah, I was able to get the win. That felt really, really, really good.
Hey, there's no shame in leaving early. None. This is bar rules here.
Oh, that's all about the games, right? Like, got to do what they're not expecting you to do.
And it's legal, and it's loud, and it gets you the win. Well done. I ran some fixed Ferrari challenge at Spa, 3 different starts, only 1 finish. It wasn't great, but not bad. I think it just detailed how much I need that new wheel. Just to drive one-handed with my oval wheel while I have my other hand on the shifter, it's just too hard. And boy, I'm just going to wait before I start doing this road stuff for the wheel, I think. Let's talk the Fast Track League at Vegas. David.
Yeah, got taken out by a guy. I actually made a mistake early on myself. Was 2 laps down, got them both back, and was going to turn out to have an okay run. And this guy just he kept cutting the corner on the inside, and he did it one time to get back even with me coming into turn 3, and he didn't hold his line, and he came up and completely destroyed me. So he got taken out in the next wreck. So I felt avenged a little, but we'll see what happens the next time I'm near him. If he gets any room or not.
Now I said Vegas, but it's really Phoenix is where we were racing.
This was still Phoenix, yeah.
Now, Greg, you got destroyed via a flying car that flew over you, and then the next thing I know is David said you had no hood.
Well, David, it went over your car too, did it not?
It bounced on my ceiling, but I don't think you can get damage up there. Maybe, I don't know.
Anyways, I didn't have any visual reference on my car that it was damaged. when we were going around the under caution, and David came up beside me because he was right behind me and pulled up just to check, and he told me I had no hood. So then I didn't have any time to pit, so we went green, and what did we run, like 60 laps there green, 50 laps green, and what was that?
We were getting close to green flags.
Yeah, so I was almost a lap down. Richard Lucky was 0.5 of a second behind me when the caution came out to lap me. So I was able to not have to take a lucky dog, which helps me get extra time on pit road, and I was able to get the damage fixed and be somewhat competitive. But I wasn't really. I was running, 20th, 15th to 20th with you, Mike, for most of that race. And then it just got stupid at the end. Just wreck after wreck. Once caution came out, it bred more cautions, and I finished P3, but only because I think I restarted 10th or 9th, and the rest of the guys in front of me just decided they were going to wad it up at coming out of 2, and someone lost it in front of me from the league, and I just decided not to pull up either. I went straight through them and finished them off too, just to help them into the wall. But I wasn't lifting. It was a green-white checkered. So I'll take a P3. I've got luck at Phoenix, and we'll go on to the next race.
I'll never forget that replay in my mind of that last lap down the backstretch. It was carnage. I mean, the whole track blocked up. I was just wadded. I just kind of pushed my way through there, like body slamming, one to the other, one side to the other. And I actually got through that mess. It looked like I was going to have a good finish, but that last wreck actually gave me the incident points that I needed to drive through penalty. So it actually put me down a lap, and I ended up P18. Ran as high as 10th, but was more like a 15th and 20th place car all day, especially on older tires. The cautions played in my favor, and I would gain some track position from that. There was one incident I missed by my braking mark by just a few feet, and I actually had to lock him up. I slid into the admin of the league. Luckily, I didn't wreck him, but I did make that mistake. I did get dive bombed by a guy and almost wrecked again. I heard his name almost every time a caution came out. He was dive bombing my teammates, and then the next caution came out, and he was involved, and yeah, and so that was fun. The final restart, man, they were everywhere. They were just wrecked. Like I said, it was like a ping pong ball just bouncing through there. Now, why did they wreck? Adam Jocelyn going for the win. As I was fading, Greg and I were fading. Adam was marching up through the field. He started in the back. He got up to the front. He was contending there. Was in position on the final restart in second. They go to restart, and Richard Lucky is like slow to go on the green. Adam had a really nice go, was able to get up literally side by side through 1 and 2 with him. Richard Lucky clips the apron, trying too hard, it looked like, and basically spun out into Adam, and they both wreck in front of the field, basically. And that's what caused that huge pileup of the entire pack down the backstretch. Bobby was in the race for a while. He got wrecked, and then he was spotting for Adam at the end.
No, he
didn't show.
didn't get home in time.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
He was just there.
But Adam almost had that win, and he was kind of kicking himself over it, but he did everything he could. What are you going to do if the leader wrecks and takes you out? I mean, you can't miss it. I feel bad for Adam. He's had some bad luck, but he's fast. All right, how about some more confidence boost for me? I ran this weekend Supercars at Michigan, a Chris McGuire room, P1. I ended up winning that race. That was a blast. I also ran the Saturday Sim 500 Esports 87 cars. Talladega, I mean, Greg, you've been pumping me up for this race, and then you didn't show up.
I just thought about not just doing. There was something going on. I can't remember what I was doing Saturday night, and I just couldn't peel myself away from it to run it. I didn't know how many guys were going to show up. And what did you last? Only a couple laps in it?
Yeah, I got wrecked out on lap 8. The guy leading on the outside gets loose. And now that's exactly what was happening to me all the time last fall, if you recall. Every time I got to the front on the outside in this car at Talladega, I would wreck. Well, that's what this guy did. At least it was him and not me. And yeah, I got caught up in a bunch of other people. And of course, I wasn't going to run around. I'm not running for points. So,
what was the turnout like?
It wasn't too bad. I think it was 22.
That's double what it's been the last couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it was a nice turnout. So, all right, OBRL Aftermath Truck Series. It was Jason Higginbotham with the win. Thomas Ogle second. Eddie Jones third at Atlanta.
Those sound like new names.
Oh, not Eddie Jones.
I was going to say Eddie's been there forever.
Well, I didn't hear the one I always hear.
Yeah.
I don't think he was there that
I was going to say he was off. He took an off week.
All right, final thoughts, Brian McCubbin.
So yeah, I had a rough weekend. I had to work Sunday morning, so I missed the OBRL Cup race. And then Sunday night, I was getting ready to go do the Get Her Done race, and instead had to go to the hospital because I had a kidney stone attack. So yeah, not a good day for me. I had to miss that race. I wound up missing Monday night too because I was so wiped out from the day before. But it was, I give it 2 thumbs down for an experience. I wouldn't recommend it to my friends or enemies, but I'm all better now, so I'm ready to get back in the rig and do some racing tomorrow night.
Oh my God, Cringe City.
Not fun, no.
All right, David Hall, final thoughts.
I'm going to go on the real life side this time. There was an announcement we saw today that Hendrick Motorsports is putting a next gen car at Le Mans in the actual 24-hour race. Is it Garage 56? Is that the right number?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is one that they have for cars that are not in any other class, or also specifically just for filming purposes if they want to throw together some kind of movie or something. So that's going to be interesting. And what I'd like to do is the next time we have an open night to throw up a community race, I'm going to come up with some way to do the next gen cars at Le Mans, and we'll try to throw that whenever there's an opening.
Now, iRacing also announced today that time trials are available where you can run the next gen 7 car at Le Mans now, and I think I had heard the times people have already put up times, and the record is somewhere at 4 minutes.
We need to go in there and grab that set then. David should save it so that you have it.
Where can you get the set?
Well, if you're in the time trial, you could just save file. It should save it.
Oh, well, it's probably just going to be like an iRacing set?
It's a crappy fix set.
Yeah, but at least it's something to work off of, right?
Right, might have the right gear.
Well, if it's you don't have to load the server to get that set. It's already in on your computer.
I was gonna say the one thing when you're talking about that card, David. I was thinking today to myself, does that mean Hendrick Motorsports has to switch tire manufacturers to come and do that event? Because I thought Michelin's is the only tire provider for that series. I don't think they could run a Goodyear and a Michelin on the same track. They don't mix tire brands, I thought.
Well,
don't know. We'll have to find out.
I from what I've heard today about it, because there's people talking about it, obviously, I think it's going to be a next gen car to start with, but it's going to be heavily modified. It's going to have different rubber. It's going to have, all the rain flap, the stuff for rain and the lights and the the LED.
Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't have lights or anything, does it?
They're just stickers.
They're just stickers.
Some people were hypothesizing too that it'll be the hybrid version.
Right. To prepare for the next year when NASCAR said that they would be a hybrid version. Like the first chance to put it on track and test it.
Is it this year they're going or next year?
It's next year.
Okay, so yeah, 2024 was the hybrid thoughts, right?
And apparently this has been done before in the past, and a Cup car has never finished more than 7 hours of a 24-hour race, apparently.
Well, that's the thing is that track is grueling, and those straights are really, really long. You got to go down to low RPM and then back up. It's not like where they run at Daytona and just keep it at that RPM all the time. But I think the motors nowadays are built better than the ones that were used back in the day for those type events.
Cup cars are also never designed for that level of endurance.
Well, I think Junior gets asked this all the time when he does the 24-hour coverage, if they could have a NASCAR field and do this, and he said that they just have to modify the engine a little bit and a couple components in the car, and it should be able to go for a 24-hour race.
Who would be the drivers?
It'd be just would you get all four of that? They're normal drivers?
It's going to conflict with the regular Cup guys, so the regular Cup guys aren't going to be able to do it. He's going to have to get retired Cup guys. Maybe Stewart and Johnson.
Gordon. Maybe Dale will go and do it.
Dale Jr., right. Okay, Greg Hectus, final thought.
I got like 2 minutes to get up to my get her done GT3 race here. Qualifying is going to start in a couple minutes. I didn't get much racing at Phoenix. I just had the fast track race last week because I came home on Friday night, which would have been normal race night. But I had a headache where I couldn't even open my eyes, so I went to bed that night and I didn't wake up till the next morning. So missed out on Phoenix getting a couple finishes, but we'll take her to Atlanta. I love Atlanta because it's such a driver's track, and try and get us a win Friday night.
All right, very good. Tony Groves, final thought?
Well, last week at Phoenix, I made the start, and Lisa did not. She wasn't confident enough to make the start, and it was actually pretty smart. I probably should have followed her lead. But she is going to be back in for tomorrow night, and this is really, really cool. So we got, we never have a lack of things to talk about, but to be able to share this experience, it's worth a couple of conversations throughout the week, even with like the practicing and stuff like that. So this is really looking forward to tomorrow night. To back that up, like to get a second win would be awesome. Top 10 would be absolutely great. But yeah, being able to race beside her and keep checking in with each other throughout the race and stuff. Such a really cool experience. Been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's fun having her in TeamSpeak, and I'm looking forward to spotting her to a win, like I do everyone else.
Yeah,
Except me.
That'd be awesome.
You're next, Greg. We're gonna have to get you. Okay, my final thoughts. Wow, Phoenix, and then Atlanta, and man, this car is so hard to drive. But to get a top 3 at Phoenix, man, I'm proud of that. But Atlanta, man, the problem is between the steering wheel and the seat. It's the driver, man, and I cannot drive and get that thing to not spin out on me. And I was thinking, is this the set? Is it me? Is it the car? It's the car, I think. I see everyone else doing it. I'm still finishing in the top 15, and so that's saying something alone. I mean, so the back half of the field, they're doing worse than I am. So maybe it's not me. And then you watch real NASCAR drivers, they're spinning out and stuff. So I don't know. It's a little frustrating. We haven't had to deal with this in the last couple of years because of the ho-hum